So anyway, guys that don't know Jimmy Blanchette, he's just absolutely incredible. Once you see this slideshow, you're going to want more. So how do people find out where you are and how can they contact you? Just so
Uh,
I can
yeah,
tell them first.
yes, I am. Uh, well, I'm available. I have a YouTube channel, Human Initiated Contact, so they can communicate with me through that channel. Leaving comments or
Okay, I'll
anything
put the
like.
link. I'll put the link below.
Mhm.
And most recently, your work and contact with universal intelligences led to the breakthrough discoveries, which may have a profound impact on our understanding of physics and how the universe works. Jimmy Blanchette, who you finally get to meet, guys, also shows how the sacred knowledge has been encoded in many ancient sacred sites around the world, including the Pyramids of Giza. Since his initial release, Jimmy has been on several internet platforms and radio shows to share this important information with the world. And I'm so grateful and thankful that you're sharing it with my audience. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure to be on your platform. Thank you for the opportunity. It should be a lot of fun today. So I do have several slides, that we'll go through, and I have several video clips also to show some of the experiences I've had, and also how it connects to the work that I've been doing. And so, you know, anytime you're ready, we'll blaze through this. And of course, stops me
I'm
if you have any question at any time.
okay. Well, I'm ready.
All right. Okay. So let's do this. Let me share my screen. Okay. So we'll talk about. So we had Sarah, you and I had the contact. It's almost 2 years ago, actually, that I shared some
Wow.
questions with Sarah because I was doing some work, and we'll see what that was all about. And I shared some questions with Sarah that was pretty technical, and made a broadcast. And Sarah was able to get amazing answers through her work. And so it all ties into, my work actually, and what I found actually later on, and it's all coming together. So we'll cover how the Qhht, has been revealing the harmonics of creation and how this all tied together, and really explains the building blocks of creation, really. And that was, obtained through a session that Sarah had and shared with me. And so we'll talk about that. Um, but before going there, so I'm going to try maybe to go chronologically, a bit how it started, how it started all this work and how it ties into the information that we got through the Qhht session. And then we'll go from there. I do have several video clips also because there's some concept sounds maybe a bit technical. So I have a short video clips I would like to present. And also some video clips of my own experiences and sightings that all ties into this, because really the information that we're going to be talking about clearly has been encoded, in ancient sacred sites all over the world, through the Great Pyramid of Giza, or all the pyramids of Giza actually, and through personal sightings that I've had and some other experiences I've had. And so I do have video clips of all that I will share, and to show how this ties in together. So clearly, the intelligence is trying to communicate something to us that's really important. So I started actually, since I'm a child, I've been into, radio communication, amateur radio communication. So I'm a licensed amateur radio operator, and one of my hobby was to build antennas, which I've done pretty much all my life. And so I fast forward to 2013. I got into, I heard for the first time about a modality called moon-bound communication, which really consists, as crazy as it sounds, it consists in bouncing radio waves off the surface of the moon, using a lot of power, obviously a big antenna system, a lot of power. If we direct the antenna towards the moon, we can use the moon as a passive reflector, like a mirror, literally. And by reflecting the radio wave, we're able to make communication somewhere else on planet Earth, like, of course, with a station somewhere else that is doing the same thing. And so I got interested into this. I had never heard about this contact modality. And so I started developing my own radio station, my own antenna system, very large antenna system. The one we see here to the left was about the size of my house. So very large antenna system with a lot of power, a lot of obviously, sophisticated equipment to do that. So I got all that radio station set up, and I started making contacts, with other amateur radio operators doing the same thing all over the world in 2013. And so if I fast forward in 2017, I started being interested. I heard about a modality called CE5, or human initiated contact, that many experiencers know. Really, which consists is using either consciousness or, there are different ways, but primarily a lot of people use meditation to, try to reach out to other beings, other consciousness out there in the universe. And so I saw some video online. I was really amazed by that, and I had been always interested in the field myself. So I said, okay, why not try it myself, and why not use my radio equipment, my radio station that I had built, to broadcast a message out there in the universe, and with a message that will contain a greeting message, an invitation message, essentially, with coordinates, longitude, latitude, where I will be at a specific time and date. I had set a kind of an appointment, if you will, with the star beings. So I broadcasted this message, and I do have, actually, it's maybe a 30 seconds video. If you don't mind, I can share it.
Yeah.
This is the original message so I created an algorithm to broadcast the message. It's binary code. And you will see here on the screen the frequency. I use solfeggio's frequency. So each sentence of the message was encoded using a solfeggio frequency. So it was like musical solfeggio message, if you will, that I was broadcasting. So let me play this here. So this is how it sounded. This is binary code. So I will stop it here. So essentially, that binary code was containing the greeting message and the appointment, essentially, for a contact. And to be honest, I really, really had no expectation that anything would come out of this. I have zero expectations, but I was more doing it for the fun of it, and I had located a site in a valley, very deep into the valley, in Rose Valley, California. I was living in California at the time. And I had located the site using Google Earth. It was my first time I was going out, actually, to make contact. And I was actually going to that site more to screen the site for future contact work. At the time, I intended to set up a little group, a C5 group, a team, to do contact work. So I was getting there more to screen and make sure the site would be appropriate for future contact work. Again, I was not expecting anything. So I got to the site. I was alone at night. And I got to the site, a beautiful place with a lake and a beautiful view, far from, was really far away from the cities and everything. It was really deep in the valley. There was no cell signal there, nothing, right, that could interfere. So I was pretty deep down there. So it was a perfect, beautiful site. So I decided to sit down for a few minutes, on a chair and relax a bit. I said, I'm going to maybe meditate or just relax a little bit, enjoy the scenery. And maybe 15, 20 minutes after arriving at the site, my radio, I brought a handheld radio with me, which I had tuned to the same frequency that I had used to broadcast the message using my large radio station. So I had set up that little handheld radio on the rooftop of my car, and I was sitting in a chair, and the radio started going off like crazy. And I have the video of it. That's a representation of that. So I can show a bit how it sounded like. So let me give you a second here. Here we go.
It's 2:16 in the morning. The radio is very active right now.
So this is how the radio was behaving. So that video is not the actual night that I had my first contact. I'll call it the night of my first contact. But in the following weeks, I went back there again. The same thing happened. So this is a video of maybe a month later, but it's very a good representation. So this is how the radio started interacting on my day of first contact, May, it was May 1st, 2017. So, and by the way, when I broadcasted this invitation message, I did it a few days prior, right? So a few days just to, So anyway, so this is, and there was no reason why the radio will behave this way, because I've been in amateur radio since childhood, so I know how radio behaves. I was deep in the valley. There was no cell signal there. There was no reason in the world why the radio would be behaving this way. But to be honest, I didn't even click. I didn't make the connection at the moment. I didn't even think it was even a possibility that would be a reply. So I dismissed it. Really, I was annoyed actually a bit. I said, why is the radio making this sound? I was just trying to relax here on a chair, So I went back home, and then, but I was intrigued, and I started reading online about CE5 and how often, the intelligence may be interacting with the electronic equipments and so on. I saw some videos. I started saying myself, is it what happened? I mean, maybe there's something behind this, right? So during that week, I kept the radio on me. I was, going to the bank, at the grocery store, and the radio was completely silent. Not there's a squelch on it and an attenuator. So radio completely silent, not a sound. While I was, one would think if it will be an interference, it will happen while you're in a city, right, with Wi-Fi signals and things like that. Nothing. So I decided to go back the following weekend to that same location. I was with a friend this time. So I did the same thing, same protocol. I broadcasted again an invitation message ahead of time, a few days prior, with date, time, coordinates, and so on. And then we went to the site, and same thing happened. A few minutes after arrival, I was with a friend. The radio started behaving exactly the same way.
Wow.
So, and I have the audio recording of that actually. Yes, I kept good records of all my experience. So, and it
really sounds, it really sounds like communication. I mean, it's like something like that.
It's a signal that's very modulated, very sharply modulated. Yeah. It's not noise, right? It's really modulated.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and we were asking questions, I was with a friend, we're asking questions, and the radio, it seemed like it felt like there was an intelligence behind it. It was clearly, that's how it felt like. So this is how my story started, really. And I kept, I became very, of course, this is life-changing experience. So I repeated the experience, almost every week I was going there, but I was going there myself this time. I didn't, setting up a group is a lot of work and people don't show up. And I just didn't have a lot of free time. In a way, I was working full time. So I ended up going there to that site always by myself, and became a very personal type of thing, personal experience, And I bought a night vision camera, so I started recording my own sightings and experiences, and this is how this whole story started. Really, my way.
That's amazing.
And I do yes, go ahead.
When you were sitting there and experiencing this for yourself, did you feel any type of communication? Did you notice anything about yourself after, or what was it like for you to do that to have that experience by yourself?
It's a good question. Well, it felt right, an intelligence. Clearly, I was, interacting with an intelligence, and I started even broadcasting music, and they were replying. I mean, it was a big wow, Yeah. And and with the sightings that were accompanying this. So I do have a short video clip I can show of sightings I've had, some of the most. And the first part of the video actually, so this video compiles different sightings from different time because, since I've had many experiences. So, but the first one is a transmission that I made a request for a daytime sighting. Specifically, I was requesting a daytime sighting at a specific location as well. And so that was, we'll see that was what happened following that request. And following that, there are a few short, clips of other sightings. So the video lasts about 5 minutes. All right, let me get it started.
That's just incredible. It's incredible.
So yeah,
It's
so
it, it's interesting how you see the same type of ships, though. That's interesting. And I noticed you put in that you were trying to get into contact with the Andromedan galaxy. Why them?
the Andromeda Council. So I had
Yeah.
heard that that's one of the biggest council that exists out there. That's kind of some experiences I've had contacts with them. And so it was a more general message to reach out to all of these that are known, to have interacted in peace with humanity. I was obviously reaching out for benevolent beings, obviously. And yeah, and so those are example. You know, often, of course, the sightings are so fast that we don't get even a chance to record them, right? So it's a small slice of the overall experience. But so that was combined. So a lot of these sightings and combined with the radio interactions, and so that was very intense. Over the years since 2017, I've had many dozens, if not in the hundreds, probably of experience.
Wow.
So we're not alone. And my radio station, actually, let me go back to the next slide. I have, see here, my radio station, just to put things in perspective, is capable. So what we see here at the bottom, my radio station, again, because I was using it to do moon-bound communication, it's really powerful. So really the signal will physically reach all the corners of the solar system. So if I target, for instance, Jupiter or Saturn or whatever other planets, the sun and the moon, the radio wave will physically reach these locations. So if there's any intelligence out there, which we know there are, they will get the signal. It's like delivering a bit of a message to their doorstep this time, right? So they don't need to come to us. I was able to give the message to their doorstep to them. And so that may be why there was so much, reply, if you will, or interaction back. The other thing I did also that I discovered is even using simple handheld radios like this, and I can demonstrate that technically. We can buy these for $25, $30 really, nowadays. And the signal, if you transmit from Earth, the signal will go far beyond the International Space Stations, will reach actually the moon. People don't know that. I can demonstrate that technically. So even using a sample handheld radios, and that's what I did, I shared, this radio contact modality, if you will, with other experiencers, and they purchased radios, and this became used worldwide. I have many friends worldwide who have been using this radio contact modality to initiate contact. And it's just like, of course, at the end of the day, consciousness is above everything, but this is more like a technological aid, if you will, right? To help to get our voice heard. We can really get our voice heard in space easily. A few $30 and you get your voice heard in space, and people don't know that. So we can reach them. We can have our voice be heard in space. So I shared, and many experiencers worldwide since have shared their experience with me, and they're sharing their own radio interactions. So the radio interaction I showed at the beginning actually now is many other people have had these kind of experiences worldwide, whether it's in Japan or Australia, New Zealand, Europe. So it became a new modality, if you will, that people have been using. So it's been part of my work to share this and encourage people to do it and try to teach them how to do it. And so it's been a lot of fun for me.
Amazing.
And this is showing here example of the type of requests we can make, when we do this type of work. When we ask for contact, human-initiated contact, we can request specific for sightings, for instance. As we saw in the video, if it is safe and appropriate for this universal intelligence, they will interact back, right? Healing, I've had my own experience with that. I had a back pain, lower back pain for many years. And I had an episode a few years ago, shortly after I started doing this work, actually, this contact work. And a very bad episode in my lower back because I played ice hockey, right? I'm French Canadian, so that's where my accent is coming from. My first language is French, but from Canada, not from France. And I had the lower back pain, and I made a request to get some help. And it was during the evening. I broadcasted it with my radio, I use Morse code. I can do it. I know Morse code. And during the night, I had a lot of sweating, very strange night. And when I woke up the next day, the pain was completely gone.
Wow, that's incredible.
The other thing that I experienced, what was probably the most profound experience I've had, besides all the sightings, which were very life-changing to me, I made a request. It was back in spring of 2019, because I've had also, out-of-body experience since I'm a child. Since childhood, I've had a lot of out-of-body experience, a bit less today than I had before. But so I made a request, a very specific request for the intelligence to help inducing an out-of-body experience in which I will have a physical memory of the experience, that will retain the physical memory of the experience. So that was the essence of my request. And I was not expecting anything again. And it was maybe 9 o'clock, about 9 o'clock at night. I was in my bedroom, fully awake and aware. I was sitting on my bed and just about to lay down. Again, fully awake and aware, like we're now. I was not sleepy yet. I go to bed really late. I was going to bed really late. And all of a sudden, while my eyes were still open, I felt I was just taken out of my body, literally.
Wow. What did you see?
So, well, I saw a big, bright white light. It seems like, a bit like what people describe as NDE, right? You see this bright light, and it was a very pleasant experience. It was a very positive experience. I felt like going back home, if you will. And I remember opening up my arms to this light, but I was in my etheric body, obviously. I was out of my body. And then a few seconds later or shortly after, I just blacked out, and I don't know what happened after.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and this made me realize that these requests, I was asking something very specific, and they acted upon it. The intelligence acted upon it very specifically. So I really understood the power of that modality, in the sense that we can make very specific requests, either, for all kinds of purposes, of course. And if the intelligence, decides that it's safe and appropriate, then, they may act upon it. So it made me realize really how serious that was. I mean, I already knew, but this was really, really something. And following that, actually, I used that knowledge for people who I knew, for instance, people I knew had health issues, were going through difficult time, or either cancer and things like that. So I made many messages personally for them, and broadcasted these messages with my large radio station throughout the solar system, to ask for healing help, for healing assistance for people who were undergoing some health issues. So so that's part of the work that I've done since 2017. And I know it works. I mean, I know this, it's really working.
That's just incredible. Wow.
So we saw the video. All right. So if we keep going chronologically, so in 2000, as I said, in 2021, I moved to Arizona. I live near Sedona, maybe an hour away from Sedona. And I moved my radio station. As we can see here, this is an actual picture of where I'm sitting right now as we speak. And my antenna, which is homemade, which is set up next to it. And a frequency that I had been using, which I didn't mention yet, actually, that's significant. I should have mentioned it at the beginning. The frequency I had been using initially to make these broadcasts was 144.1 megahertz. The reason why, well, first of all, when I was doing moon-bound communication, we were in that frequency range, if you will. So I picked something that was matching the antenna that I had designed for this radio contact modality. And so I ended up kind of by instinct, or, call it coincidence, 144.1 is the frequency that I use for this broadcast. Later on, I also built an antenna system to be able to broadcast on 432 megahertz. And I will explain a bit later why. So the system that we see here, actually, the two antennas in the center are for the 432 megahertz, and the two antennas on the outer edge or connected together for the 144.1 megahertz. So that frequency, 144.1, had been a very special frequency that I had been using, again, from the beginning to initiate contact, and through which they were answering through my radio, right, doing all these interactions. I've had hundreds of hours of these videos of interactions through the radios of various kind. And I realized, by the way, later that these interactions that, like what I showed earlier through the radio, are not interactions using radio waves. So what they are sending back are not radio waves like we understand it. It's some other form of energy.
Wow.
Because these interactions, and I have all the equipment here. Again, I am an amateur radio. I have all kind of testing equipment to test that. For instance, I can disconnect and take off the antenna, and the interaction still happens. Yeah, I can put the radio in a Faraday cage, where which should keep any radio wave from going in or out, and the interaction is still happening. So it's some kind of energy that they're using to trigger the radio to the electronic.
Wow. That is incredible. Oh my gosh.
And actually they're all, I know we can discuss that at some point, but I believe actually that this energy contains information and may contains even information that they can upload, if you will, in our consciousness, and even for healing purpose as well. So 2021, when I moved to Arizona, for the first time, I installed cameras on my antenna system. I had never installed cameras yet, because when I was doing moon-bound communication, the cameras and the Wi-Fi signal may tend to interfere, right? So I didn't even think about it. So for the first time, I installed several cameras on my antenna array, and oh my God, then I realized that when I was broadcasting these messages throughout the solar system, there was all kind of sightings and manifestations taking place right in front of the antenna system. This is an example here. This transmission was made towards the moon. So what we see here is the moon. To the left, we see a little tree. There's a chemtrail right here. But these two objects just popped in and out. And I do have all the videos of that. Now, this is a screenshot, but I have the physical video of that. Like these two objects just popping in, in and out of our dimension, if you will. These objects have a lot of geometrical shape. As we can see, they're very well defined. These are not bugs, obviously. I have hundreds of these. This is a triangular craft that appeared. I was broadcasting towards the star Arcturus. This triangular craft just appeared right in front of the antenna during the broadcast.
Wow.
And by the way, this was a test here. I was broadcasting the golden ratio frequency, which is part of what the Qhht session talked about. The phi ratio is the golden ratio. So I was doing a test to broadcast that frequency to see if this will trigger any kind of reaction. And this triangular craft just showed up.
Wow.
Another here. This is May 12, 2022. Two more craft here while I was broadcasting towards the moon. This is May 6, 2022. This
oh wow, look at that. That's incredible.
Little armada, I'm not sure how to call it. This was June 14, 2022. I was broadcasting towards the star Vega. And obviously, when I broadcast toward these stars, I'm not saying that these sightings we're seeing are near Vega, right? They are really close, right. I think, in our low Earth orbit. They're close, maybe a few miles away or maybe a few hundred miles away, but they're not very far. There's another one here. I was broadcasting towards Vega again. Again, I have all the videos of these these three objects again. This one was really special. Summer 2022, we see these four objects again appearing in front of the antenna array, and I found that it was really similar to the sign lambda.
Oh, wow.
And the sign lambda is, lambda means wavelength, right? So wavelengths equal a frequency. So it felt that they were communicating something here clearly.
Yeah, this is just incredible. Oh my gosh.
So 2021, so in the summer and fall of 2021, this is where I was seeing this number everywhere. You know, as we know, as I described, I had been broadcasting on that frequency 144.1 since 2017, but even before getting home, like the exit prior to my exit, you know, we see this exit 144. Even the mileage next to it was mile 144. So, and this even also the other one here, the highway next to where I live is Highway 89, and 89 times golden ratio gives harmonic 144. 89 is part of the Fibonacci sequence leading up to 144.
Wow. I think during this time when you did ask me that question, I woke up and it was 1:44.
Yes, that's right.
Remember I texted you?
That's right. Yeah, so there was something going on there for sure. Yeah, so this, when I sing this really what prompted me to start looking into this harmonic, right? I looked on the internet, harmonic 144, and I discovered the work of Bruce Qhht, who passed away several years ago, but he's really one of the pioneers who's done amazing work on that in developing some of the mathematics about geometric harmonics. And so I looked at his work, and that really got me going, because then from there, since I, with that basis, if you will, I really started expanding this and expanding my research really at a very fast speed. And so this what leads us to part 2, which is the spring of 2022. This is when I submitted questions to you actually about that, right? Because I was really at the beginning of my work, and I was on the trail, following a trail, if you will. And so I submitted. I believe it was 10 questions. Mm-hmm. And maybe you want to describe a bit what happened, and then I can show what the result is.
So you submitted the questions, and then I asked one of my clients who didn't know anything at all. They didn't know what I was going to do at all. And I submitted the answers that I got back from the consciousness that came through my client.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then you share the answers with me. And I was, at the time, again, I was just beginning to work on that. But I'm going to read it here because it's really important. And there's something really special about that one. So this one of the key question and answer that came out of it. A question, so from your perspective, do you get a sense as to the harmonic of light 144, which appears to be everywhere in our world and in nature? So that was the question you asked. And the answer that came back was yes, 144 or 144 and phi ratio. This is a repeating pattern that is indicative of the holographic nature of our reality. This number is a representation of that, how all of nature can be broken down into this energy or this number, this ratio. So what's quite fascinating about that actually is that in the question, you will notice that we're not talking about the phi ratio.
I know.
Right? So it's not even in the question. The phi ratio is equivalent to the golden ratio, and that's what we're going to talk. So the question did not talk about the golden ratio, and yet the answer came back with the golden ratio. And we'll see how these two things together, 144 and phi ratio, really are the building blocks of creation. So we're going to cover briefly harmonic 144 and the golden ratio. So I have a short video that I'd like to present. It's only 3 minutes, but that explains what the golden ratio is. I think that would be interesting for your audience maybe to see that, if that's okay.
Definitely.
Just
Definitely.
3 minutes. So here we go.
All right, so this ratio of 1 to 1.6, and this is the ratio that's called the golden ratio, a 1 to 1.6 ratio. Growing and expanding to the rate of the golden ratio spiral allows the maximum amount of rain to be directed down to the roots of many plants. And remarkably, when you study nature, you see the golden Fibonacci numbers like 3, 5, 8, 13, all of that again and again in the seed pattern spirals of plants, as well as in the number of petals. Next time you're bored and have a sunflower, try counting the number of seeds in the sunflower spiral. the golden ratio. Or maybe try something else with a spiral, like a pine cone or pineapple. So we could spend all day counting the seeds of flowers and plants and fruit. I mean, you get the idea. But we don't just see this golden ratio sequence on a small scale. This ratio is the mathematical sequence in the spirals of our storms, tornadoes, hurricanes. These all spin in this golden sequence, 1 to 1.6. Even the waves can be measured using this ratio. But it doesn't stop there. Modern technology continues to be mystified by the far-reaching scope of the golden ratio, from the alignment of the planets to the spirals of our Milky Way galaxy, as well as the spirals of other ratios in planets. Now let's take this closer to home. I want you to hold out your arm and look at the distance between your shoulder and your elbow, and then from your elbow to your fingertips. Notice how your elbow, from your shoulder to your elbow is 1, and then from your elbow to your fingertips is 1.6. Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't stop there. Now take that further. The distance from your fingertips to your wrist is 1, and from your wrist to your elbow is 1.6. Keep it going. From the furthest tip of your finger to the bottom of your fingers is 1, and from the bottom of your fingers to your wrist is 1.6. Now check out the spacing of your knuckles, 1 to 1.6. Are you getting freaked out yet? Think about this. The head to your belly button, 1, and then belly button to your feet, 1.6. From your toes to your knees, and from your knees to your hips, golden ratio. Ever wonder why your 2 front teeth are so much bigger? Golden ratio. The pupils of your eyes, I mean, you name it, your whole body is the symphony of the golden ratio. In fact, as you are listening to this video, the sound waves are passing through your ear in a perfect golden spiral. Scientists have discovered that the golden ratio pattern is necessary for the human brain, the neural system, our sense organs, and our lung system. The golden ratio sequence is even in the helix of our DNA, and it forms the very rhythm of our heartbeat pattern.
Wow. So it's like all a clue. There's so many clues everywhere. It's just incredible.
It's really amazing, right? So the golden ratio is really, let me put this back here so I can see. All right. So yeah, so it's really, I found this video really interesting because it really shows it's everywhere, and people tend not to know that, right? It's not something that we're really taught at school. They should. I think they should.
Right?
You know, why are they not teaching this, right? So clearly, that was contained. Let me get back to the slide here. That was contained in the answer we got for Qht, right? You're talking about the harmonic 144 and the phi ratio, which is the golden ratio. This is really everything in nature, everything in our reality is based on that.
It's funny because the client just knew nothing about that, like consciously,
Right, exactly. So, and this goes deep. So during that period, shortly during that, again, chronologically, that sequence, I had this amazing, incredible triangular craft manifesting in front of my antenna. So the first manifestation happened on December 5th, 2021. The second one on December 25th. It was clearly the same craft. And February 5th, 2022 here. So, and while analyzing this incredible sighting, one of my friends, actually, a good friend, David Sarida, noticed the first connection to the golden ratio. We say, hey, don't you see there's a proportion here that looks like the golden ratio? And he left it at that. So then I looked deeper and I realized that this craft was a golden ratio proportion craft perfectly. So for instance, just like we saw in the video earlier, so if we take, for instance, the length of this bottom segment here of the triangle and we divide it or we ratio it over the length here, we get the golden ratio. If we get the length of this segment here on top divided by this one, we get the golden ratio. If we get the bottom segment divided by the shorter one, we get the golden ratio squared. So amazing. So this graph contained that information about the golden ratio. It's just amazing. So that's why I call this intelligence the golden ratio triangular craft. That's the name I gave it to it. So I ended up crafting a message, an invitation message. Again, this graph had appeared to me already 3 times. So I crafted a message to invite this intelligence to manifest again. So I have a short video of that, if I can share, of what happened when I broadcasted the message. So here we go.
Wow. It came back 2 minutes later. I mean, 2 minutes later. That's
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah, I was really stunned by this one. This, this was really significant to me personally, and knowing so what happened after that, and then the story continues. So after deciding, then I discovered there was more information encoded in this graph, and using a software to, I use a software to try to create a model and understand, the angles of this triangle. I say, maybe there's something more, maybe there's more information that's contained or encoded in this graph. And amazingly, I realized that this angle here to the left side had an angle of 4.32 degrees. And the angle on the other side here was 6.94 degrees. Once, we fine-tuned the model. And I realized that 6.94, when we do the reciprocal, gives exactly harmonic 144.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And these angles happens to match, by the way, the two frequencies that I've been broadcasting on, 144 and 432 megahertz. So this is what, and oh yeah, I mentioned about this one while I was broadcasting the golden ratio frequency, this craft appeared. So this led me, doing some math on this, to come up with this formula that I was understanding that they were communicating, actually, that these three harmonics, 144, the golden ratio that we saw, and harmonic 432, equal to the number 1, which is all that is, the unity. So this is what I came up with. And I did some very accurate calculation. If you look at the bottom here, using the actual high accuracy speed of lights and so on calculations, this math is really working. And I called it the universal formula for the light encoded reality matrix, because we live in a reality matrix that's encoded with light, right? Everything is light. We're made of light ourselves. So this is what I came up with. And really this is the connection between the consciousness field of the holographic universe, we can represent a singularity, and our physical world that, we live in. Everything is based on that. And I continue, and that's why I have on my slide deck, I have like 950 slides now of material, of material that I put together. But just to show for instance, like even the distance, for instance, between the average distance between the planet in our solar system and the sun, they're all based on golden ratio. So Venus is at 36 golden ratio. The Earth, we are at 50 golden ratio from the sun. Mars, 75 golden ratio. Jupiter, Pluto, at very high accuracy. We look in blue here, the accuracy is very, very high. I mean, it's amazing, right? Everything in nature is tuned to that. Even the velocity of the stars and galaxies in our universe, we look at our own Milky Way galaxy. If we take the speed at which our own Milky Way galaxy travels, we convert that into a geometric harmonic units, then we get harmonic 144. I mean, exactly to that. The Andromeda galaxy, same thing, harmonic 144. Oh, I'm sorry. So the Milky Way is at 288, which is 2 times the harmonic 144. Andromeda, exactly 144. And even the Pleiades cluster is also at based on a harmonic. So this matches, again, that formula. Even our biology, or DNA, the way that the cells divides in the golden ratio proportion, a bit like we saw in the video. Everything in our body is based on that. And even if we take a cross-section of a DNA molecule, we chop it off, right? And we look at it, we realize that inside the DNA molecule, it's made of a decagon, which has 10 sides, and each angle inside is 144 degrees. Everything is connected to that. So I do have, as I said, hundreds of slides showing that everything in nature, from even the frequency of our brain, the Schumann resonance itself, once we convert that into geometric harmonic, we get...
I have heard that 7.83 hertz is the Earth.
Yes.
The Earth
it's the Earth frequency, the Schumann resonance. It's like the heartbeat of planet Earth. And but when we convert that into a geometric harmonic figure, then we get harmonic 144. It's based on a reciprocal, or brainwave are connected to the same thing. So again, I do have like literally hundreds of slides showing how these numbers, actually everything in nature, in our reality, our holographic universe is tuned to that. Even the flower of life, and people don't know that. If you take the flower of life, you count the number of petals, you get 90 petals, and the number of little triangles, like this weird triangle, 54. If you add the two of them, 90 plus 54, you get 144.
What do you think that they are trying to show us?
I'll get to that. So really this, even the Great Pyramid, I did a quick analysis. I was curious. I said, maybe the Great Pyramid certainly contains this information, right? And exactly that. So once look into the meter system, right? If you look at the hypotenuse, it's equivalent to 186.6, which is 2 times like this harmonic 432 times harmonic 432. The base is harmonic 144 times golden ratio minus golden ratio squared. Even the slope angle can be reduced to, the slope angle is 51.84 degrees. You can get that with harmonic 432 times the square root of harmonic 144. So everything in the Great Pyramid of Giza itself, in its own structure, the dimensions, is based on that. So I think what they're telling us is on this slide really is that these harmonics of creation, well, everything in nature is tuned to that, just like it was spelled out exactly in the QHT session. That's exactly what the subject said. Once we understand that and create or revise our physics, if you will, revise our science based on that, then that's going to give us access to free energy from the earth. And I think really that's what Tesla was doing. Will allow us to have develop healing technologies, better understand telepathy and do that better, develop anti-gravity, space travel, and connect to the stars, finally connect to our star family. I think that's what they are communicating, how things works. And they've encoded this again through ancient sacred sites like the Great Pyramid. They've encoded that through my own sightings. And I have actually one I would like to show here, with last just 1 minute, which corroborate that even more. And this is a footage from Linda, a very nice person. She's a good friend of mine. She's an experiencer, very connected experiencer, and she made a request, and she was generous enough to share her footage because that's a very personal thing, right? But she made a request for a V-shaped sighting at some point. And she's been, by the way, Linda's been very active with radio also. She's been using radios, like, and so on. But she had experience for many, many years before that. Anyway, so she made a request for a V-shaped manifestation. And so it was back in 2016. And so the day that she made that request, she ended up going in her backyard. She felt compelled to go in her backyard and point her camera towards the sky. And at a very specific moment, she felt, instructed just to start recording, right?
Wow.
So that's what we're going to see in a second. Let me play the video here. So what we're going to see here is, and by the way, she has the same night vision camera that I use. So I know this footage is, it's authentic. This is really real. So the footage lasts about 30 seconds. It's going to play 2 times in a row. So it's going to allow the audience to see it twice because it's quite amazing. And what we see at the beginning, it's really when she started recording, right? She felt instructed to start recording. And then we play it right now.
That's incredible.
It's really an incredible footage, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very personal too. It's very touching for somebody to experience that. So it was in November 2022. Linda reached out to me. We've been in contact, and she had saw some of my work, through interviews I had made with Grant Cameron, and she said, she reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you mind to look at this video of my V-shaped siding, which I had seen before?" She had shared with me before, and she said, "Do you mind to look at it and see if there's anything encoded in there? Is there any information in there?" So I did, which I did. So I looked at the different portion of the video, and if we look here, we start to the left, right? The siding starts like as a V shape, very clear V shape defined. So I use a protractor here, a little tool, and I created a baseline, and then I did my best to have the best average angle between these other craft that are there that form the V shape. And amazingly, the angle that comes out of it is exactly 144 degrees.
Wow.
And another portion of the video, right, we see the formation contract and then expand again.
Yeah.
So I compare both. I took a screenshot of both and calculated the length, right? So this is the shrunk or the contracted form and the stretch version. So I compare both. I measured them, and we're getting exactly the golden ratio squared, which reveals the golden ratio.
Incredible.
And finally, the last, we see at some point also when the crafts are very stable, I took again a screenshot, I looked at it, and what we're getting out of it is a tetrahedron with an inscribed sphere. And when we calculate the harmonic resonance of a tetrahedron, we sum up all the angles, we end up with 720 degrees in a tetrahedron. There are 60 minutes of arcs per degree, so we end up exactly with harmonic 432. So amazingly, this amazing siding encoded again the same three building blocks of creation, this harmonic 144, the golden ratio, and harmonic 432. Which to me was very powerful because it was an additional kind of validation of the formula that I had put together, this formula, which essentially shows that these three harmonics of creation equals to one, which is source, right? The unity, all that is.
Oh my gosh.
So following that, in a month that, subsequently and so on, I went really into a rabbit hole of mathematics and physics and kind of recreated a set of physics formula. Essentially, I revised our physics, with this new perspective about physics in mind. But this time, if you'll notice that all these formula, if you look at the speed of light, so all these formula contains the letter C. The letter C is the symbol for harmonic 144. I just want to make it clear, right? So the C represents harmonic 144 and the sign of the golden ratio. So we can see that all these formulas that essentially recreates a new physics, a new perspectives on physics, are based on harmonic 144, that letter C, and the golden ratio. So with that, we can explain the speed of light, harmonic, the Planck length, which is the quantum level, right? The quantum length, the smallest oscillation of energy that can exist at the quantum scale is called the Planck length, the Planck sphere, even the creation of the material world. I can show that using this formula, we can recreate the subatomic particles that are responsible for the material world we live in, really. Gravity, the energy of the universe, total amount of energy in our visible universe, the energy density. So it gets technical, but it's all essentially a new perspective on physics that's based on that.
Wow, this is incredible.
And this is my latest work, which I presented to Grant back in November of 2023, just a couple of months ago. This is again a continuation of that. And also, as we can see also, is that all these formulas happens to be the division of the one, right? So we take one and we create a division in the source, in the unity, using these harmonics, 144 and golden ratio, and we can literally recreate an entire physics and explain why is the material world the way it is, and the mass, energy in observable universe, gravity, and so on. So it's all based on that. It's very simple, actually. These formulas, as you can see, are really, really, really simple. So that leads me to this one. So this is recent. December 16 that just passed. So that's a couple of months ago. I've broadcasted these slides or this formula that we just saw here, right? So I'm able to encode these slides, if you will, and broadcast them back to the universe. So that's what I did. So I encoded these, my latest, or the result of my latest work, if you will, and broadcasted that towards the Orion Belt. I also included some of the latest findings that I made about, I talked to you earlier about the Great Pyramid and the portals that connects the sun and Sirius and the Great Pyramid. So it was all part of it. So I broadcasted during, the whole broadcast sequence lasted about 25 minutes. And during that broadcast of these messages, there were 16 different visual manifestations that took place in the sky. Primarily, like, you know, objects just popping in and out and flashing. And one of the objects was stationary, completely stationary, right in front of the antenna. We'll see it came back 9 times actually during the broadcast, located at the same location. So obviously it can't be satellite because that many sightings can't be satellite. And it was at 10, I started the broadcast at 10 o'clock at night. And during that time of the night, in the middle of the night, you know, after 3 hours after sunset, you know, you cannot see satellites anymore because they fall in the Earth's shadow, right? So if you look at the sun here and it's night, so in the middle of the night, any satellite are no longer visible. The Earth is essentially blocking the sunlight, so they can no longer reflect. So I know this was obviously not any kind of human technology, and I have the video actually if you want to show it. So I can narrate what happened there. So it lasts about 6 minutes. And we'll show 16 manifestation. I'm gonna narrate, you know, while it's going on. So when I start here, I start with my antenna. Let me just press pause. Get the video ready. When you're ready, let me know. I will get it started.
Ready.
All right. So we see here the antenna. This is December 16, 2023. That's very recent. About 10 o'clock at night. I have a little counter I put on the left screen, upper left, to have a sense of the timing. And so the antenna was sparked. So the first step here was to move the antenna towards the Orion Belt. So that's what we see. So I'm moving the antenna. This is how I make these transmissions. So we see the antennas being directed. It's like a laser beam, right? These antennas are like literally a laser beam. So pointing it towards the Orion Belt. Then I turn off the light. And then I start broadcasting. And then we'll see the first sighting to the bottom left of the Orion Belt is the stationary object I talked about. Just a little flash, we'll see. And then the other one is manifestation number 2 to the right side. Pop in and out again. We can hear the dogs barking. Manifestation 3 to the right side of the Orion Belt.
Wow.
And we're going to have a little zoom in on this one. So this was during the broadcast, right? Broadcasting all these messages, these slides. So the stationary object came back, same location as the first sighting. And I had also 2 different camera systems. I'll show that in a second. So we see a zoom in here. So I recorded on 2 separate camera systems just so as a validation, right? Because someone could say, well, it's an artifact or a camera glitch, right? So I have 2 separate technology, different camera systems, and they both recorded the same thing. As we can see here, it's recording the same flash. Sighting number 5. The stationary object came back again, same location, didn't move an inch.
Wow.
Transitioning to camera number 2 to validate that sighting. And we can compare the brightness of the Orion Belt, right? The Orion Belt is quite bright. The stars are quite bright. So these flash are pretty the same brightness of the stars of the Orion Belt. This one is to the left of the Orion Belt. it was like a light show, literally. Stationary object came back. This is number 7. We have 16 to go, so 9 more to go. Number 8, upper left side. Oh, this one was moving actually.
Huh.
Moving object. Number 9, this was a very strange structure. You'll see this one is very peculiar. It's big, right? It's very big in the sky. And we'll see a zoom in of that sighting here. It's hard to say what it is. The stationary object came back. This is sighting number 10. We are 13 minutes into the broadcast. Switching to camera 2 to validate the sighting. Same thing happened, so we can validate that's the same thing. And number 11, stationary object again. They're right in front of the antenna where really most of the radiation is coming from. Number 12, upper right side.
Wow.
Stationary object again. Sometimes I broadcast the music. I broadcast some symphony and things like that. So often there's really a lot of interactions.
Do you find there's more interactions if you broadcast music or no?
They're very responsive to it. I can tell you that. They're very responsive to it. There's 14. There's 2 more to go. Upper right side here. Number 15. Stationary object again. So this one again manifested 9 times, and we know the number 9 is significant.
Yeah.
And 16, this is the last one. A stationary object came for one last time here.
It's just incredible. Like, this is incredible, the work that you're doing.
And camera number 2. And then that was it. So then I moved the antenna back into their position. I turn on the light so we can see the array a bit better. And then they all move back to their essentially position. So I have the map here of the different sightings. I mapped it out after to see. So we see all these dots or where the flashes occurred, because I'm convinced, Sarah, that there's information encoded in this. There's nothing that they do that's random or, there's always a meaning. So I'm convinced that there's information encoded in there. So that's the challenge I have now to figure it out. We see the stationary object that came back 9 times is the blue dots here. So we see the different times that it manifested. Got the yellow dots all over the place. And this one, the red, is the one that was moving. I put it red because it was different. It was moving. And this structure also, this very strange structure also, I put it red here at 11:30. So this is the map of a manifestation. So I need to figure it out. Maybe one day when I wake up in the morning, I will have figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really curious. Please let me know if you figure it out.
And that's the PowerPoint slide that I had.
Oh my gosh, Jimmy, thank you. This is incredible. The work that you're doing is incredible. I mean, thank you for doing that to help so many people, to bring this awareness. So what are you working on right now?
Well, the latest, well, I can give a little teaser of it. So let me put it on here. I want to make sure I didn't lose you here. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Am I still sharing here? Oh, am I still sharing?
No.
No, okay. Let me put it back on the screen. I can show. So the latest on this is that all this connects. So my latest finding really is that using the physics of black holes, that it's used to calculate the size of the energy of black holes. The black holes are really theorized to be portals, right?
Mhm.
That these are like stargates, if you will, to connect to other dimensions or connect to other part of our galaxy or universe. And using these calculations, and maybe we can cover that in a part two, I can show now that the stargates, there's a stargates connecting the Great Pyramid of Giza and to the Menkaure Pyramid, the sun. They are all connected, you know, through their energy. We see the energy number here in terms of harmonic 408, 412, and 406. And what's amazing about it is that when we calculate the size of the stargates, of the mini black hole, if you want to call it this way, we calculate the size, we get a number that's equivalent to the mathematical constant pi. At very high degree of accuracy, you see the Great Pyramid, the accuracy is 99.96%, the Sun 99.2%, Menkaure Pyramid 99.3%. And I didn't even know that. Somebody told me. I realized after the fact that
Wow.
the pi symbol happens to be the symbol of portals.
Wow. That is interesting.
So the Torii Gates in Japan, in Maui, in Tonga, in the Pacific Oceans, you get all these ancient sacred sites. The Mahendra Temple in Malta encodes the pi. The Chichen Itza in Mexico, where the sun passes through right during the spring equinox, is in the form of pi. Stonehenge, these are all in the form of pi. Even the Temple of Apollo. So this symbol is encoded all over the world. But it's not only a symbol, it's actually mathematical. When we do the physics of it, the mathematics of it, this is exactly the number we get. We get the pi number. So I can show this connects, and it even connects further. I did some research and I found that even if we look at the volume energy of the star Sirius and we do the same math and calculations, we get and also the pi, the product of pi times the speed of light harmonic squared, right? This is the same c squared that's in the E equal mc squared from Albert Einstein, right? The energy, the harmonic 144 squared, essentially. The C represents harmonic 144. So Sirius is connected to the Great Pyramid and the sun. And actually there is we know that the shaft, right, it's in the Great Pyramid, they point in different directions. One points towards Orion Belt, actually, that we made the transmission earlier. One points towards Sirius A, exactly that, right? And so there's a connection there. What this suggests, really, the math suggests, is that these are all connected through some kind of portals or stargates.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Incredible. Because my clients, when they remember being extraterrestrial, they remember using the black holes, and they use like kinetic energy or whatever to transverse themselves through their, you know, whatever you want to call them, ships or whatever, like using their mind and kinetic energy.
That's exactly that. So
it's interesting. It's so fascinating.
Maybe it's time to submit new questions.
Yeah, submit some new questions to me. I'm curious. I want to see what submit some new questions to me and see what you can find out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I mean, you know, my experience is that when we make the effort, right? When we make the efforts, they match our effort.
That is exactly what they've said through the higher self.
Yeah.
They said the more you get curious,
yeah,
the more the universe responds. Exactly that. And they help us so much.
And absolutely. I mean, it's really a feedback loop. It becomes a relationship, right? It's a feedback loop more. That's why now I like to broadcast the result of my research, the slides that we saw. I broadcast them back to the universe, and I ask for answers, and they send me answers back, right? We saw the golden ratio triangular craft. So when I figure it out, then I send my homework back to them. It's like a homework. I'm sending it back to them. Say, hey, I figured it out. Send me the next batch, right? And
oh my gosh, so cool. I can't wait to see what else you're going to uncover, what else you're going to share with the world, you know, but this is like amazing, fantastic. I mean, thank you so much. My mind's a little bit blown. I'm like, wow, it's almost like it just proves it's a holographic reality. It just proves that that we are walking symbols. Yes. We're like walking clues for one another, and everything is a clue. Even like the contact, it's clue. It's Absolutely. A clue. It's so fascinating.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. And also even our notion of time, right? So we know time doesn't exist. It's just an illusion. Right. And I realized that even the transmissions that I make today, asking for answers or sharing information when I broadcast to the universe, may have influenced what I experienced in my past, because I've had experience in my past where I know I had visitation, right? And so now I realize that actually, even on the day of my first contact on May 1st, 2017, it felt like they were waiting for it, because the first time I tried it, they answered, right? They interacted through the radio, the very first appointment, if you will.
Right.
So it just felt like they were waiting for it. They were right there waiting.
Wow.
So it's a retro causality, right? Really what I'm doing today and broadcast may have influenced what I've experienced in the past. They were waiting for it. So it's all this, I know human will not used to think that way, but that's the way thing works.
Right.
And we need to get used to looking at it more that way.
I love thinking about it like that. It just makes you realize that we're so multidimensional. I mean, time really doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
What you're curious about right now could really affect your past. And the past seems to be malleable.
Yes, the past is malleable, and then exactly, and in turn, it remolded the future, right? So it's a feedback loop. Again, more we interact and more we engage in this kind of interactions with these universal intelligence, is going to shape our past and reshape our future, right? To mold it in that way. So it's really fascinating. And the good news, again, everything we've seen today is not unique to me. I want to make that clear, and that's always my message to everyone. This is accessible to everyone. That connection, people can develop that connection, whether it's through meditation, and it works for meditation. Many people do it, through C5 and so on, or buying a radio and just, talking through it. They're going to hear you in space. I mean, the radio wave will physically reach the moon, right? So this is a technological aid. So there are many modalities, and people can explain that, but just the fact of trying to engage and taking the action of engaging, for sure, there's going to be some kind of return, and may not be conscious immediately, maybe for dreams, but it's going to implant something in the person who engage, and it's just going to grow and develop over time.
I love it. I mean, it gives people hope and something they can try, something they can do, because they will be heard.
Absolutely.
Even if they just speak it, even.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every intent, and it's mathematical too. I mean, we can show, and I can show it, I have the slides about it, that our brain waves is energy, right? So this is electromagnetic energy. So this bioelectric field that we have. So every thoughts we have, anything we generate, we produce out of consciousness, resonates into that field, which is all connected together. It's all a singularity, really. It's all this holographic universe. So anytime we project an intent out there or a thought, it's available to be picked up by an intelligence. And so if we direct it specifically with an intent to contact and to contact this intelligence, for sure, this is going to be picked up by something. And it's real. I mean, it's mathematical. It's demonstrable now.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing all this stuff with us. I can't wait for you to come back on and share more of your information.
Yeah, we can do a part 2 at some point. There's plenty,
100%.
plenty of stuff, plenty of stuff to share.
I'm going to put the links of how people can contact you and your YouTube channel. Anywhere else you want them to go to contact you?
I'm available through Facebook too, under my name, Jimmy Blanchett, if they want to connect with me. And there's a bunch of CE5 group on Facebook that people can connect to. And there's awesome people out there doing this work, the same work that I'm doing in contact work. And so they can get acclimatized and engage in it. And I'm part of these groups, so they can reach out to me that way as well.
But the work you're doing is really groundbreaking and really fantastic. Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much, and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for providing the platform, Sarah. This is, to me, I do it from my heart, really. This is a passion, and I like to share that passion for the folks out there. It's available to everyone. This is not unique to me or anyone. It's available to everyone. And, that's why I'm here, to share that information.
Thank you so very, very much.
Right. Thank you.